Yo, what's up, guys? It's Ryan, and a few weeks ago I got asked how I process and record guitars. Um, so instead of breaking that up into like four different videos of how I do drums, guitars, bass, and all the rest, I figured I'd do one big video. Um, and this is exactly what this is exactly what that is going to be. Um, so first, how I record guitars is super underwhelming. I just run my guitar into my pedal board and then into my Kemper, and the Kemper, if you don't know, is basically an amp in a box, and it's fantastic, and it sounds better than any amp I've ever used. Um, but that's how I record everything, guitar wise. Um, but now for processing, I've got this track that's pretty typical for me as far as like a rock sort of sound goes. And I'll skip around and give you like tasters to show you how it's sounding. So just a volume warning, I guess. And then all right, and that's kind of the sound. And just so you know, the guitar I use is a Sir Antique T. And then I use way too many pedals and amp profiles, so it's hard to say like what exactly I used here. Um, and I haven't mastered this. Also, that is uh like something to be noted. This is just mixed. But anyways, so usually for this kind of style, I have a Rhodes keyboard. Just to like kind of fill in the background, because without it, it fills the space like super nicely, and I love it more than it's way better and has more character than just like using a pad, to me at least. For the Rhodes, I use Lounge Lizard, um, and with these settings, it's super simple. I'm pretty sure it's just default. Um, I have this EQ on just to boost some high end, uh, bit of reverb. And then this SSL channel stereo, which is just compressing it a little bit, and I am doing a little bit of a EQing with this as well. Just makes it sound a little tighter and more glued together. And that is being sent to the reverb and delay sends, which I'll go over in a second. Then we have down here the bass guitar, which same process, except I just plug the bass right into my Kemper, and then run bass amp on the Kemper. For this particular track, I have a gate on because without it, if we zoom in here, in between the hits, there's a bit of noise, like right there. So I put on a gate to kind of level that out. And everything else is clean. I've got a utility to just boost the signal a little bit. Then a neutron, which is doing this sort of EQ. There was some hiss up there. I was using a pretty dirty amp, so there was some hiss in the upper, the high frequencies. So I used this to kind of take away from it, and there was an annoying kind of signal boost right there, or frequency peak is the word, right there. Not compressing it, but I am using it to kind of take away some of the attack of the lows, like the sub frequencies, and then boosting the attack and the higher ones. So you get more of a click in these frequencies right here, but in the lows I didn't want like some boomy click from the pick attack down there. It's barely getting sent to the room reverb, so much so that you can't even hear it, even if you solo it out. So like it may as well not have been sent that way. Guitars are definitely my most involved part of any project because I'm a guitar player first. So obviously I go pretty bananas. Alright, so I'm just gonna go through section by section. I'm literally just gonna describe because this song I think has most every technique I've ever really used, or used commonly, I guess, on guitars. So on these rhythm guitars, there's nothing on them except for like the group processing. On this lead, got this Fab Filter Pro C, just compressing it a little bit. If you look at the gain reduction, I recognize I missed a few notes in there, or timings. I'm gonna go back and have to fix them later, but that was just to like round out that signal a little bit. Then I have some delay from the Waves H delay. It's almost like a slapback, almost. Then I have this EQ, because those higher frequencies were just annoying to me, especially when you have so yeah. I'm sending this individually to the room reverb quite a bit, and what I keep mentioning it, so I'm just going to show you what my reverb send is. So it's the Fab Filter Pro R, which is a recent purchase of mine, and it was so worth it. It sounds incredible, really, and honestly, if we just solo it out. So I have that. I have basically the entire track minus a little bit of the bass running into this at differing levels, I guess. So if we listen, and this is rhythm. It just opens up the space like crazy. I was pretty resistant to start using reverb sends for whatever reason. I was like, nah, I'll just throw a reverb track on, or a reverb plugin on every single channel that needs reverb. And I never really got the idea that the reverb send can be used to, air quote, set up the room. And that's exactly what I use it for. Is it makes it feel more like a live recording, or more like it was recorded together in a room, I guess. It gives it a sense of space, the entire track. which just makes it sound like way more natural, and like again it just breathes way more. But I've got that. These are the settings. I took out the low end and the post EQ and the decay rate. I have the higher like sparkle of the reverb. It dies pretty quick, or quicker I guess, than everything else. So then we get to this section. So this part right here, a little bit of compression just to round it out. I've got that boost right there just to let that cut through a little bit, and then I've got a Valhalla shimmer to add kind of like a synthy overtone to it. You don't hear it a ton, but it's there, and you can it makes it sound like there might be a synth up there, but there's not. It's just a little bit of reverb. We have this next. Guitars are double tracked also, by the way. That kind of goes without saying. These don't have any processing on them at all, except for the group processing, of course. I've got this. Which is just being compressed a little bit, and this is just to beef up the sound just a tad. It's pretty quiet in the mix. Just another layer. We have this solo right here, and I love making this kind of vinyl-y sound, and how I did that. And I decided to go with this type of sound for this because if you listen, if I turn off everything, there's a bit of noise, so I just took it out, like lo-fied it a little bit. Then threw on the virtual mix rack. And I'm using just literally two different modules to boost some of the upper end, but it's only the upper end of what's getting out of this EQ, so it's none of the noise. Then I've got this compressor, which is barely doing anything. I like having compressors on the lead stuff, not so much the rhythm stuff, because I'm just hitting everything as hard as I can the entire time. So it doesn't really need it. But some of the rhythm stuff, unless you want to take a million takes, which I guess is the air quote like musical thing to do, a compressor just helps round out some of your velocity mistakes. Then I've got an SSL channel on it. It's not compressing at all. It's just got some EQing going on. Boost some high end, which I did a lot of in this. And then I have some Valhalla vintage reverb. Just to give it a mild sense of space. It's also being sent to the reverb channel on top of what the group already is. I've got these sorts of things. And that's just me holding a note, and sometimes we'll use feedback or something like that, and then taking that same sample, reverse it, and then bounce it down an octave and up an octave. Every single one of these has the same exact vintage verb. Like that. Let me get into this next part. This is like the bigger, rockier section. No processing, that's just the guitar tone, and I think it sounds fantastic alone, so. This also doesn't have any processing. Alright, so this lead part I actually left pretty bare. It's just got some vintage verb. And you hear some reverb on like the dry guitar part, and that is from the Strymon Big Sky, which I use for all of my reverb on guitars, like in a live sense. It's my reverb pedal that I use for everything, and then I just add some extra like stereo verb in the box. And then for that glitch effect right there, I've got this shaper box with the mix set to 56. So this is what that sounds like. Thought it just added an interesting flavor to it. We have that same reverse thing, and then it's back into the same. Alright, so the guitar bus. Let's go to the big part. So I just got a utility to boost the signal. Then I've got a neutron. Knocking out some annoying higher frequencies. Which was very much necessary to me. It's getting just slightly compressed. You can see there, it's only got probably about a dB to 3 dB of gain reduction. 2-to-1 ratio. It's not doing much. It's just kind of like squeezing it and keeping it all together. And then we've got the transient shaper, which just kind of just like the bass. I'm taking out the pick attack or the transient of the lower frequencies, boosting the mids, and I take that out just because it gets super muddy, boosting the mids and also the highs, just to give it some of that sizzle, you know. And after that, I've got just an EQ, taking some low stuff out. No idea why I didn't do it in neutron, but whatever. Alright, and then we have drums, which admittedly to me is my weakest spot. I use Superior Drummer because I can't afford to have a real drummer and I suck at drums, so I have a robot play for me. So I have it broken up into kick, snare, snare mic 2, hat mic, toms, room, and room far mics. So this kick right here has a virtual mix rack, Slate Digital. So this is dry. So this adds just a little bit of low end, gives it some extra punch from this monster compressor, and then just the slightest bit of high end boost, which to me sounds great. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also using some parallel processing for these guitars. So along with that, some of the high end you're hearing is from this guitar par or guitar parallel processing channel or track, and it's the guitar group getting sent in and just getting pretty crushed by the new pedal effect with Ableton. Just add some high end and like a little bit of beef behind it. So I like that. Sorry. Now back to the drums, snare. So we got snare mic 1. We got this virtual mix rack. The same monster compressor. So like just a lot of punch behind it. Then we add this preamp, which I'm aware would typically come before the compressor. But for some reason in this particular instance, I liked it after more. Then we have this EQ, which just kind of brightens it up and gives it a little more presence. Then we have this digital EQ afterwards. Which again brightens it up, takes out a little bit of the 1000 hertz range because that's a busy frequency range in this sort of music. Then we have snare 2, which I've just got a high pass on and a little bit of a boost with this EQ8. Got an SSL channel, which is compressing a bit. Also boosting the volume a little bit. And then I've got this compressor right here, which is just taking care of the like extreme peaks. Some reverb. And then this EQ. And I took away some of the high end because it was a little bit like crackly up top, and there's plenty of high end in the entire track. We have this hi-hat over here, or maybe over here. Let's just loop this. All this has is virtual mix rack, the same monster compressor. A little bit of a high shelf boost, just a lot of general boosting on this because this compressor kind of destroyed it a little bit, so I just boosted it back up with an EQ. A lot of reverb channel or track send, whatever it is. The toms, let me find a tom fill. And this just has a virtual mix track. Same monster. Tons of gain reduction. A lot of boost in the low frequencies. Taking away a little bit of the 600 area. Just a little bit though. Just to kind of clear that space up for like lower guitars and the kick drum and everything. And then some boost in the high mids and taking away some of the high frequencies, because without it, this works better in the mix. The room mic. Room mic, I've just got an EQ on. I let this one breathe a lot and don't really touch it all the time. Same sort of thing. I think it's actually the same exact EQ. Yep, it's the same exact EQ. For some reason, I've never really liked the sound of like super compressed cymbals and overheads, so that's why I leave them, leave these tracks pretty untouched. Realistically though, I should probably have like that for basically limiting almost. And then the same one on the room far. So, yeah. And then on the same, also I've got this delay channel, which really only the Rhodes is going to, and it's this right here. And it's, like I said, it mainly just the Rhodes is being used or being sent there. But just like the guitars, I also have this parallel channel for the drums. It's the same sort of thing. Pedal, kind of just destroying it. Some fat filter. This just kind of tames it a little bit. Just adds some punch to me at least. And that's really it. I haven't mastered this track, but my mastering is usually relatively light. I don't really do like a whole ton. It doesn't really end up sounding like miles different. It just is louder with a few master EQ tweaks. So that's basically how I do it. This is, like I said, a pretty standard rock tune for what I would do. So now the room. Now the rooms are a little bit loud. There we go. So, yeah, if you have any questions on any of this, let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Always love talking mixing and rock. So, if you have any tips or tricks, even, like, leave them in the comments, please, because I'm all about learning. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.